Hello everybody, I just wanted to show you the build that I have been doing while playing my Necro. I did not make this build. It's pretty strong, but I just wanted to share it with you guys because I thought it was pretty sweet. It's called the Infinite Blood Mist build or the Shadow Blood Mist build. There's a couple different variations of people doing this build. This is the variation that I have liked the most because I actually use crit and critical strike damage in it. There are some people that don't use any crit and stuff like that, and some of them run like Black River. I try to like minimize using uniques because personally I find the secondary stats on uniques very poor typically, so I really don't like to use uniques unless I absolutely have to for a build. This build, the way that I'm using it, does not require any uniques though. I know I do have one, but it does not require that, so just keep that in mind. It's more of a quality of life thing and just another multiplier. It's not like something that the build absolutely needs, otherwise it can't function. So let's go ahead and hop into it. So first off, we have Aspect of Disobedience, stacking armor buff. We're going to want cooldown reduction, percent total armor, max life, and ranks to Decrepify on this. Then you're going to want Aspect of Explosive Mist. So this is going to make your Blood Mist trigger Corpse Explosion. So this build actually transfers really well from the Sever build. However, the Sever build can operate without this one. But if you do not have this specific legendary aspect, I don't recommend you play this build because then your corpse explosions aren't going to go off while you're in Blood Mist. And the whole idea of this is that, you know, you go into Blood Mist, set off a bunch of corpse explosions, and then that stacks up your Shadow Blight and kills things, right? So if you don't have this, I wouldn't recommend doing this build yet. Just be on the lookout. Maybe do a Sever build because Sever has a lot of crossover with this. And this is a pretty rare aspect. I have found 2 of these, and I've been playing the Necro for, I'm level 75 now, yeah, and I found 2 of them. So on your chest piece, you're going to want damage reduction from enemies that are affected by shadow damage over time, max life, percent total armor, and then percent damage. The gloves here, Howl from Below, you do not need these, but they are a damage multiplier, so if you can find them, cool, but this is not required to do the build. So instead of detonating immediately, your corpse explosion is going to turn into a skeleton that's going to run at somebody and then explode for increased damage. Then you're going to want Aspect of Shielding Storm. So whenever you use Bone Storm, you're just going to have really good access to Barrier. It's a really good defensive aspect. It's going to make you perma-barriered while your Bone Storm is up. You're going to want the damage reduction from shadow damage over time. Then you're going to want max life, ranks of corpse explosion, and percent total armor. Next, you're going to want ranks of corpse tendrils. Then you're going to want, I believe, intelligence, all stats, and movement speed. So your boots aren't really that crazy on what you need, which is kind of cool. Then you're going to want to have a looting aspect. Becoming injured while crowd controlled grants you unstoppable for 4 seconds. This effect has a 24-second cooldown. Next, you're going to want to have Aspect of the Grasping Veins. Now this is actually a pretty intense one that you really want to make sure you have. And well, sorry, I guess damage-wise you want to make sure you have. But gain 20% increased critical strike chance for 6 seconds when you cast Corpse Tendrils. Now this is additive, right? But the cool part about this is you deal 60% multiplicative bonus critical strike damage to enemies affected by Corpse Tendrils. So this is like pretty much, you kind of have to run this like in every Necro build because it has a multiplicative critical strike damage buff, which is nuts. Like, that's crazy. But anyway, yeah, so whenever you use Corpse Tendrils, it's just going to give you more crit and more critical strike damage. On your weapon, you're going to want critical strike damage, shadow damage to enemies affected by, 15% damage to affected by shadow damage over time enemies, vulnerable, and then main stats like intelligence. Then over here, you're going to want to have Blighted Aspect. You deal 170% increased damage for 6 seconds after Shadow Blight key passive damages enemies 10 times. So this is pretty good, pretty solid. Gives you a massive multiplier once your Shadow Blight stacks up. So on your necklace, you are going to want ranks of all corpse skills, ranks of Fueled by Death, percent total armor, and damage reduction from enemies that are affected by shadow damage over time. Right. So as you can see, my amulet absolutely sucks. Then we want to have Aspect of Decay. Each time the Shadow Blight key passive deals damage to enemies, it increases the next Shadow Blight's damage within 10 seconds by 20%, stacking up to 5 times. So you can see that the Sever build and this build have a lot of crossover, so it's really nice that you can kind of start Sever and then transition into this stronger later game build. So on this, you're going to want to have critical strike chance, critical strike damage, vulnerable damage, and then max life. Or, sorry, you don't want max life, you want lucky hit chance. And then I have seen some people give up the critical strike damage so they can have max life and lucky hit chance, because lucky hit chance is actually pretty important on this build. And you're going to want that for both the rings. So, then over here, you're going to want aspect of the ultimate shadow. So your bone your bone storm and blood wave are now also darkness skills, which is just going to help stack up shadow blight faster. That's the main reason for running it. Then you're going to have blood-soaked aspect. So blood mist leaves a trail that deals 403 shadow damage per second to enemies who stand in it, and your movement speed is no longer reduced while blood mist is active. This is a really big quality of life thing, and again, it just does more. It's just another tick to help shadow blight proc faster. Because the idea here is you're just stacking a bunch of shadow ticks to make your shadow blight proc, which then ramps up your damage with things like blighted chain and all that. So on your offhand here, you're going to want to have CDR, critical strike chance, lucky hit chance, and I want to say shadow damage, reduced damage from things that are affected by your shadow damage would be the best. Okay, so that being said, for gems, you're going to want topazes because we don't have good access to unstoppable. So if you do, or well, I guess we become immune, but outside of this, we don't have good access to unstoppable. So having the topazes on the off chance that for some reason you get caught with this down, you actually just get more damage reductions, like 50%. So like getting CC chained actually gives you more DR, which is weird. So then you want 8% damage over time and skulls in the jewelry. All right. So for your Book of the Dead, you want skeletal warriors, reapers, sacrifice, skeletal mages, cold, sacrificed, and iron golem sacrificed. So the reason for this is because we get 15% increased shadow damage from our skeletal reapers. Then we get 15% increased damage to vulnerable enemies from our mages. And then we get 30% increased critical strike damage from sacrificing our iron golem. Moving right along to the abilities, we have Reap, Enhanced Reap, and Acolyte's Reap. So the reason why that this is ran is because it guarantees you a corpse in order to use your corpse tendrils on to get the ball rolling on everything, to make sure you can make things vulnerable and pull it all in immediately after you hit something once, so you can kind of get going. I think there are some people that are doing Sever because you don't really have spirit issues, but I don't know. I actually really like having the corpse. I'm kind of a fan of the corpse. So then we have Hewed Flesh. Your damage has a 12% chance to create a corpse at the target's location, and the chance is doubled against bosses. This helps us keep corpses up while we're fighting bosses. Then we're going to go Corpse Explosion, max that out, Enhanced Corpse Explosion, and Blighted Corpse Explosion. This is what turns Corpse Explosion into a darkness skill that then helps make it work with this build. Then we want to go 5 ranks into Blood Mist, Enhanced Blood Mist, and Ghastly Blood Mist, so it starts to make its own corpses. So as long as you're blood misting, you'll know you're guaranteed going to get corpse explosions. As well as this also makes you immune, and whenever you increase the rank, so you can see here, so like 16.95, it actually does reduce the cooldown, so maxing it out is pretty useful. So moving right along, we have Grim Harvest. Consuming a corpse generates 2 essence. Then we have Fueled by Death. Every time you consume a corpse, you deal 9% increased damage. Then you want Decrepify, Enhanced Decrepify, and Abhorrent Decrepify. This is why we stack Lucky Hit Chance, is so we can try to get up to that 15%, or as close to it as we can. So if you're not aware how Lucky Hit Chance works, multiply that Lucky Hit Chance right there by 15%, and then times 1 plus whatever your modifiers are. So let's say you have 30% on your gear, it'd be 1.3, and that'll give you your actual chance to proc this. Okay, so that being said, we want to try to proc this as much as we can because it's going to reduce our cooldown, so you can have Bone Storm and Blood Mist up more. Coming on down here, we have Corpse Tendrils, Enhanced Corpse Tendrils, and Plagued Corpse Tendrils. So enemies damaged by Corpse Tendrils are made vulnerable for 3 seconds. They also get pulled into the middle, and they are also slowed. So pretty solid ability, and as you can see, the reason why we max this one is because it reduces the cooldown again whenever we max it. We're going to want Necrotic Carapace, so whenever a corpse is formed from your skills or your minions, you fortify. And then you're going to want Reaper's Pursuit to give you a little bit of movement speed and give you access to these. Then you want Crippling Darkness. This is actually really good. And it procs Stagger on bosses like an amazing amount. I actually really like this, but it gives you access to a stun. And then Darkness skills deal 9% bonus damage to enemies who are slowed and 9% bonus damage to enemies who are stunned or immobilized. So it gives you, full access to your terror damage. And then Gloom. When you damage enemies with Darkness skills, they take 10% increased shadow damage from you and your minions for 2 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. So it's 18% increased shadow damage. Pretty good. Moving on down, Bone Storm, Prime Bone Storm, and Supreme Bone Storm. So when you have this on, it's just a really big survivability boost, plus it gives you 20% increased crit chance, so it's a very high damage and high survivability skill. Bone Storm's just really good. I'd say it's probably the best Necro Ultimate. Then we have Standalone and Memento Mori, so because we do not use minions, we can get 18% increased damage reduction, as well as increase the bonuses of everything by 60%. And then we have Shadow Blight. This is just the main key passive we're using that everything's revolving around. So when you when you deal shadow damage and infects them with Shadow Blight, you deal 10% bonus damage to enemies, and every 10th time an enemy receives shadow damage from you or your minions, they take an additional 1700 shadow damage, and that's kind of how it works. Is we're stacking all of these ticks in order to proc Shadow Blight as much as we can, so we can then get to the damage ramp. So grouping things up and fighting a lot of enemies at once is kind of the key thing with this. All right, so when it comes to Paragon, since I am only level 75, I do not have access to the whole thing yet, so I am going to leave a link in the description below that's just going to have the whole entire Paragon thing, or I guess the whole entire Paragon tree for you. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into some gameplay. This is a pretty strong build. I have been able to punch up by quite a bit with this. Alrighty, so in a 32, the Blood Mist build. Now, you do not so real quick, a quick note. You do not need to do the highest tier possible when you're doing Nightmare Dungeons. Go 3 higher. There is not There's not a crazy difference in EXP. It actually really drops off in terms of the difference in EXP, so you do not need to feel like you need to... You definitely do not need to feel like that you need to go super high or something like that. Going 3 levels higher is the optimal experience gain. But just for demonstrational purposes, just to show you this can kind of punch quite a bit higher. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and show you. Oh, cold, nice. The good thing is this build does not care that much about cold. Single target damage isn't amazing, but it's also not too bad either. Let's see, what is this? I'm 74, these are 86. Okay, so I'm punching it decently higher here, I guess. Now the idea here is you want to use Corpse Tendrils. You want to put Decrepify on them and Corpse Tendrils and then go into Blood Mist. So not like what I just did there. And then you can kind of just, so you can kind of just, you also don't necessarily have to be in Blood Mist to do the corpse stuff. You can just do this, Oh gosh, what the heck? Okay, that was weird. Oh, I think they have potion breakers. Okay, I was like, why are my potions not working? They have potion breakers? Oh yeah, okay, yeah, they're just disabling my potions. Interesting. And yeah, cool. All right, slay the Alderkin. Yeah. Oof. Yeah. Alright, cool. Solid. Alright, so we walk up. Alright, is that gonna hit him? Alright. Did a little bit. Did a little bit. This. You'll get your blood mist like off of cooldown easier the more enemies you're fighting, but just kind of making sure you're using Decrepify right. Because I'm still kind of learning how to do this build optimally. Still practicing with it. Has a little bit of technical stuff to it, but it's really not too bad. Definitely very forgiving. Definitely very forgiving build, even if you mess something up wrong. Oh, you gonna chase? Oh, this boar's chasing me. Leave me alone, little boar. Leave me alone. Really fun build though. I've had a lot of fun with it. A lot of fun with it. And the fact that like it like really transitions well from Sever is really nice. Yeah. Okay. See, you can see like once you actually get like a couple things to make sure that your like Shadow Blight stuff is going off, it does quite a bit. But against single target, not that great. Freaking cold. Alright.
I need more time.
This. And we'll just kill him with that. We'll just start spamming our Shadow Blight. Get out of here. Get out of here. Alright, where's this last guy at? You can kind of see, like, when you have Bone Storm up, it's like your perma barrier just all the time. It's very nice. Actually, I get the feeling it's probably right here. Yeah. Alright, here we go. Alright.
I need more time.
And it's nice when you have a build that isn't like super impacted by Icy Wind, you know? Because you can, even if you get frozen, you can still use your Blood Mist. It's very, very nice. Alright. Watch out for those fallen. Alright, travel to Moonscryer's Glade. Oh.
I need more time.
Those boars, I swear, they just they'll one-shot me. They'll get me. No. Go away, cool boars. Stop breaking my potions. Boom. Alright. Awesome.
My burden is too great.
Jeez, I already have full inventory. Ah, well. I really need to find a better chest piece. What I have sucks. I need quads. Quads! What do we got here? Alright. Nice. What do we got? Just the boss here? Yeah, I think so. Oh wow, this is actually a short one. I kind of forgot how short alderwood was. Oh, okay.
I'm not ready.
And come on now, bam! Alrighty, well, that's gonna do it. Like, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.